So hello everyone, and welcome to today's session about OpenScreening, a Neo4j powered free compliance investigation tool. My name is Jean Villedieu. I'm one of the co-founders of Linkers, and today I'm joined by Frederic.
Hello, my name is Frederic Hintenberg. I'm the founder of OpenScreening.
So just a quick word about Linkers before we get started. We are a company that was founded in 2013. We are a team of 50 plus employees, and we are supporting more than 4,000 investigators worldwide who are using our graph visualization and analysis software to make sense of their graph data. You can see here some of our clients. We are working, for example, with Zurich Insurance, the Revenue Agency of the UK, but also organizations such as RIA Money Transfer and Airbus. In today's sessions, I want to talk about open data and financial crime investigations. You may know that as a regulated institution or as a government agency, there's only so much that your internal data can tell you about the people and the organizations of the with the riskiness you need to evaluate. And what's interesting is that there are some open data sources out there, such as company registries or sanctions lists that can help identify various risks, including money laundering, fraud, terrorism financing, and more. And the institutions that we just mentioned, the regulated institutions, the government agencies that are ignoring this information risk facing big fines if they do so. But it's definitely not an easy challenge to leverage this external data within your investigations. Because even though external data can help enhance information about a client, it's actually very hard to use in an efficient manner. And here we are going to see a bit of an example of how external data can help enhance the information about a client. You can see two organizations. So we have Acme Inc., Mom Corp, and the information that we have about these companies is based on internal data. And if we just use this internal data, it sounds like both companies are good business and don't represent a big risk. Maybe we have also collected some information about the owners of Acme Inc. In this case, it's Mr. Smith, and that also doesn't raise any red flag. But then, if we are able to leverage external information, we can learn a lot more about the context around these organizations. Namely, we can see that Mr. Smith is connected to two companies, Cyberdyne and Nakatomi Corp. And what's interesting is that indirectly, through these companies, Mr. Smith is connected to Mr. Zukov and Mr. Gamian. And if Mr. Zukov and Mr. Gamian are risks for whatever reasons, maybe they are suspected of money laundering or terrorism funding or on the sanctions lists, then it means that the whole subgraph that we are looking at, including all two starting points, MomCorp and Acme Inc., represents a risk. And that's really the kind of insight that combining internal data and external data can help achieve. And it's important. It's important for a number of reasons. It's important, for example, when dealing with sanctions evasion. So you have people, think, for example, Russian oligarchs creating shell companies and various proxies to hide that they are the beneficiaries behind some transactions. Or maybe you are fighting against fraud networks. And once again, it's important to identify the relationships between seemingly normal clients and the risky fraudulent ones. In tax evasion, you may be interested in finding out about offshore assets of taxpayers within your country. And in corruption, you may be dealing with politicians that have assets, control organizations within, outside of their country, and use that to receive money. So there's a lot of reasons why it's important to be able to leverage both internal but also external data to identify potential risks. the thing is that using open external data is very hard. And here we can take the example of a sanctions list. So in theory, this data is accessible online and for free. For example, the most famous sanctions list would be OFAC, and you can see it on the website of the Treasury, of the US Treasury. It's readily available in a few clicks. The problem is that in practice, there are hundreds of potential data sources with its own format. And looking up a name in a single data source is very easy, but consolidating all of these data sources in a continuous fashion and integrate that in your investigation process is a complex effort. And that's the reason why with the folks from Open Sanctions and Open Ownership at Linkers, we have built OpenScreening. So OpenScreening is a free compliance tool where we store a lot of open data that's relevant for financial crime investigations, and we'll dive into that a little bit more in a few seconds. And this data is made available via the Linkers Enterprise interface, for which anyone, from data journalists to compliance professionals, can search, explore, and visualize the complex networks around risky individuals to identify potential risks. So that's a quick intro to OpenScreening, and in a glimpse, here are some numbers about this project. So we're talking about more than 25 million persons of interest within the data. We are covering 26,000 sanctioned entities, 26 million companies. In total, there are 85 million nodes, more than 100 million relationships, and all of that is coming from 50 plus different data sources. So that's quite a unique and large graph that is made accessible via the OpenScreening project. Now, Frederick, maybe you can help us zoom in on the data that's behind this project.
Yeah, absolutely. So with OpenScreening, what we've tried to do is to combine and bring together all the data that is risk information that we can get from the open data landscape. So you can then just also later, if you want, to take it and combine it with your in-house data to find relevant information for your own purposes. In terms of sources, maybe three big categories that are worth pointing out. One is kind of the ICIJ database that's been published for a couple of years that shows the beneficial owners of a number of offshore vehicles. This was published by the ICIJ, the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. And we've also combined Open Sanctions, which is the project that I'm working on, which just has crossed 100 sources of public information, sanctions lists, politically exposed people, so everyone who is in political power in a country, and many entities of criminal interest, whether they're wanted for defrauding governments or for other crimes. And that kind of forms the core risk section of the graph. And then in terms of going outwards from that risk section towards companies that you might have seen on the high street, we're combining the data with Open Ownership, which is a initiative and a coalition that's advocating the release of beneficial ownership data straight by governments. So the idea there is that if someone owns a company in a country, that information should be available as bulk data in a standardized format so that people can use it for investigations in crime, money laundering, all the areas that Jean just described. So yeah, we've put all that data together into one big graph where you have connectivities between the offshore world, the political and sanctions world, and the corporate world. I've also just in the session chat posted the link where you can actually go and fetch a 60-something gigabyte bulk file if you want to play with it. And in terms of how to get that into Neo4j, I'm going to give a little presentation today at 4:35 p.m. CET on how that becomes a graph. Jean, show us though how to play with it.
Sure, thanks. So in order to make this data accessible to the public, we are using Linkers Enterprise. And in Linkers Enterprise, there are three big things that are helping make this data accessible. First, there's the graph visualization UI, and we will see that in a couple of minutes. where analysts can very easily search and explore the data and make sense of complex networks. We will also see the use of alerts. Alerts in Neo4j Enterprise can help identify suspicious patterns in a proactive fashion. And finally, all of that comes in an environment that's built for collaboration. So it's possible to share visualizations, add comments, manage access rights, and more. So I guess that's it in terms of introducing OpenScreening. What I'd like to do now is a bit of a demo. So we are going to explore the data together. We are going to analyze a particular company and try to figure out whether this company is risky or not based on the context surrounding this company. In this process, we'll see a couple of things. We'll see how to navigate OpenScreening visually to conduct an investigation. We'll see how visually deal with data coming from various data sources. We will see also how to turn complex investigation workflows into simple buttons. And finally, we will see how to speed up, automate the detection of insights via alerts. So that's it. And let's switch to the demo now. So hopefully you're seeing my screen. I'm connecting to Neo4j Enterprise, and this is a team space called Financial Crime Busters, where a team can very easily share visualizations and other assets in a protected fashion. As I mentioned, we are interested in a particular entity of interest. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Create Visualization, and I'm going to look up a company called Vatcat Ltd. Okay, so I'm putting up some information now about this company. I can see that it's a company from the UK. It has an incorporation date and a registration number, among other things. I can double click and retrieve everything that this company is connected to. I can be more fine-grained in my exploration of the data. Maybe I just want to look up the address, or maybe I want to look up, the other companies that are connected to Vatcat Ltd. It's fairly easy to do this sort of a thing. I can also, manually explore the graph. Maybe I want to learn more about some of the beneficiary owners of the company. So I can see that the company is connected, for example, to Patrick McClurg. If I'm zooming in, I can see that it's via an ownership link with a particular end date. You can see another ownership link here with another person called Rafael Kai. And here we have another ownership link with yet another person called Dimitri Ivanov. Maybe I want to learn more about Patrick McCurg. I can see some extra information, namely the fact that it's connected to an address here. It also seems that there's another match for Patrick McCurg. So as we have multiple data sources in the data, there are some duplicates that have been flagged. So we have one first Patrick McClurg, and this one is coming from this particular data source, the person of significant control data source, which is a UK data source. And here we have another Patrick McCurg coming from another data source. I can explore further and identify that it's connected to yet another address. I'm going to go back to the starting point now and clean up the graph. We have seen how to manually explore the graph, but it's a bit complex because the graph is large and there's a lot of relationships. So it's also possible to speed up this process by using what we call query templates, which are basically snippets of cipher code that are turned into forms or buttons. Here I'm going to do a right click on Vatcat Ltd, and I'm going to ask to find the associates. And I'm going to bring up this data in the screen. Zooming out now. There we go. Okay, so that's the network surrounding Vatcat Ltd that we pulled via query template. We can see what this query template looks like. Once again, it's a bit of a snippet of code. That's something that you can create on your own based on the specificities of your data. And here we are basically taking as a starting point a given node and looking at the persons that are connected to that node across a bunch of relationships. And we are also applying a filter to remove super nodes. Basically, we are filtering out within the paths that we are identifying nodes that are 50 plus connections, simply because these connections across super nodes are less relevant for investigation. Okay, so we have bring together a bunch of data now on the screen. So first off, there's something unusual here. Not every company is connected to as much other companies and individuals as Vatcat. So it's definitely something of interest. This data that we see on the screen, we can filter it in a number of ways. Maybe we want to remove the identifier nodes, for example. So that's something that can be done. Maybe we want to locate the politicians. And here we apparently have two politicians. So that's definitely something of interest. We also somehow have multiple sanctioned entities, including this Dmitry Ivanov that we discussed earlier. That person of interest, we can look him up in a third-party data source using what we call a custom action. So I'm going to click on lookup in OpenSanctions, and in just a single click, I can see the source data, I guess, for Dmitry Ivanov. So we see that it's indeed a person. We see when the data was last changed, checked, and first seen. We can also see the sanctions authority for the fact that this entity is flagged as sanctioned, and the actual data source. I'm closing this window now, going back to the graph. We can also make sense of the temporal data in the graph. Maybe we want to look at the incorporation dates of the companies. It's something that we can pull within the timeline view, and then we can see what are the companies that appear the last, the companies that appeared earlier. We can slice the data based on this temporal data. Okay, so we have conducted a bit of an investigation on Vatcat, and we've been able to identify that it's not just any company, but it's actually connected to 3 politicians, 2 sanctioned entities, and as such, it can represent a bit of a risk. So that's an insight worth sharing, and we can do that in a number of ways. We can save the visualization. Then it will be made accessible to other coworkers that have access to the space where we initiated the investigation. We can also add some comments to the visualization, like this, or simply export the visualization into a convenient format, such as a picture format or a spreadsheet, among other formats. Going back to the dashboard now, so we have seen how to conduct an ad hoc investigation where we knew the starting point and we wanted to see the context around that starting point. But we can see how to also be proactive about monitoring the data for anomalies via alerts. So I'm clicking on alerts now, and I'm going to the alerts dashboard. So this is where data scientists, developers can fine tune and build alerts. And I'm going to look at a particular example of an alert. So we have an alert name here. and we use what we call a model in alerts. We can have one or multiple models, and I'm going to look at this one particular model here. And as you can see, it's a Cypher query, so something very easy to write. And we are trying to find companies that are connected across any relationships to sanctioned entities. We want, the depth of the search to go up to three levels, and we want the company, the companies to be headquartered in the UK. And once again, we are applying a filter on super nodes because they are less relevant, I guess, in terms of the signal that they bring. Okay, so that's what an alert looks like. So it's something that's very easy to set up for a data scientist or a developer. And then, as an analyst, I'm simply going to go ahead and connect to the case management section. I can do some slicing and dicing, look at open alerts, closed alerts, and more. I can look at my alerts or alerts of colleagues, but I can also just go ahead, click on a given alert, and look at what's what. Here, for example, we see that this alert, apparently it's centered around this person, Ibrahim Ba. He is a sanctioned entity, so a definitive risk. We can see that he was born in 1969. And somehow this person seems to be connected to another Ibrahim Ba, who shares pretty much the same birth date and seems to control a company called Sovereign Ltd, based in the UK, incorporated fairly recently, I guess in 2021, and with this registration number. So with alerts, we can, in a very proactive way, look at the data and try and identify potential risks. Okay, so closing the demo now, going back to the presentation. With maybe one last slide before we take some questions. I wanted to say that we also have clients and organizations that want to put OpenScreening in practice. And if you're a financial institution or a government agency, it's very important for you probably to be able to manage the data that we just went through with your own internal data. And we have clients that want to do just that. In that context, OpenScreening is a bit of a starting point. Think of it as a blueprint, and it can be something that can be replicated and enhanced with internal data to create a custom knowledge graph. With this, then you can conduct investigation that span across both internal and external data. Also use external data and graph analytics to develop more accurate risk scores, and finally detect fraud, money laundering, and other risks that would otherwise go unnoticed. So that's it for today's presentation, and we can now take on some questions.